And the reason for this is Farah has lived in Saudi Arabia, and we're very lucky to have someone from the region who has lived there. And by the way, if any of you have some sort of experience, either from the region, a parent from the region, spent a summer in one of these countries, I'm very happy to send me an email. I'm very happy to have you find. It's not social science, but personal experience is still really interesting for us all to kind of hear about as a nice complement to the more academic stuff we learn in the course. All right, so
thank you.
Go ahead.
Since it will be a very, very short presentation, you're very welcome to ask me privately about anything that triggers you about Arab women or the Arabs in general. So speaking of Arab women, interestingly enough, yesterday was the Women's Day, and this day in the Arab world is a ridiculous day. It's just for sarcasm and jokes. And one of the jokes was like, Arab society celebrating Women's Day is like Israeli government celebrating Palestinian Day. So basically, I'm an Arab woman. I'm proud of my identity, but still, I don't deny all the sexism that happens. I don't sweet coat the gender stratification that happens. As an Egyptian, I come from relatively a country that used to be pioneering, and education used to be relatively more developed. And I grew up in Saudi Arabia, a very, very ultra-conservative country, as we all know. And I had an experience of getting arrested for driving story that I could speak of in more details maybe when we have a day of women in Saudi Arabia, because I have an actual experience of getting arrested just for driving. So I can speak about this more in the women in Saudi Arabia. So I just want to say a very important thing, which is don't lump us all as Arab women. We're 200 million women. You can't put 200 million females in one basket. We're very diverse, more than you can imagine, and even more than we can imagine. So my life as a female in Saudi Arabia couldn't be compared to a female in Tunisia, for example, or to Lebanon. That's unfair to both sides. So and even within the same country, so I could see myself as relatively one of the few privileged women in the society. So my parents supported me to study abroad, which is not something normal to see in normal traditional Arabic families. You won't see this often in Saudi Arabia, and even in Egypt, even people who share with us the same socioeconomic status, so many people condemned my parents. How are you letting your, and they're engineers and physicians, but they still condemn, like, how would you let your daughter, travel alone? They think that I'll return back with a baby or something. I'm not serious. And until now, there are some people who think that, we're a little bit unlucky to get a baby girl, and they do keep on trying until they get the lucky boy. So, and they're physicians and engineers, so it's irrelevant with their education status, unfortunately. And quickly, because I know I'm out of, I have limited time, on a more academic note, to be parallel with the readings that you read of Mona Tahawi and the one that was opposing or criticizing at Nahid, I want to note something that is interesting, which is the different kind of activism that we pointed out last time. So Mona is very, she points out how sexist the society is, and Nahid says we're not that bad, because I understand both the stances, because I was once standing in Nahid. I was once thinking like Nahid, that no, when we speak to the West, I need to tell them, I need to show them that we're not all oppressed, that we have access to whatever we want, we put hijab on our own optional decision. So this is where most of the Arab educated women, Muslims especially, rely on, because they are afraid and they do hate to be looked as the ungifted females, the oppressed females. They don't like to play the role of the victims. However, I started to see that this is really missing, because not being privileged doesn't mean not to speak of the million others. So I was able to, have education. I wasn't oppressed of how I dress. And by the way, my parents are practicing Muslims, so it's not because we're less religious. It's because, ideology-wise, they are more liberal. And so this doesn't mean that I need to speak of and show the world. I'm not ashamed of that. That's a thing that we all need to work on, that we do have, you know, many women who are deprived of their main, you know, human rights, even getting harassed as a normal thing. You know, warning, if you're going to any Arab country, you would get harassed. That's like very probable. Up to honor killings in some very conservative places. So this is something we should not know. But you need to know that it's bad, but it's not as bad. It's not we're all belly dancer or Orientalist, or we're all, you know, in good cause. You can't just, you know, lock us up. So we're in a very wide range. There are so many people who are, you know, liberated and speaking of people who are less vocal, and some are really oppressed that we need to, you know, not oversee. Like, I try to make it as brief as possible, but like I would love to speak about it more and more if you have anything, because I'm a person who's experiencing that and studying that too. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, very good.